Do.
Whoa.
Hey, it's the Real and Raw Show, and I'm Lynn Serrano.
And I'm snowed in Brian.
Are you serious? Oh, we'll have to talk about that. Today was a TBA one, and guess what? This is the Real and Raw Show. So we're going to just be real and raw, and we're going to shoot 20 minutes out the door. So we'll be right back after this. Welcome back from sunny Montana. And where are you, Brian?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, well, it's 26 here. I mean, I can't, what's your temperature? It's probably warmer there than it is here.
No idea.
But I'm not snowed in, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, and didn't you just a day or so have really nice weather?
No, it's been rainy, snowy, cold, windy.
Yeah, just like life. There's all different kinds of seasons, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And I think this Real and Raw show, we definitely have had our seasons. Mm-hmm. And I'm just excited that we spend this time every week together. And it's an honor to spend it with you. And
likewise.
I'm just excited because I'm working on the website where it'll just be a bookmark for everybody to find you specifically and find the show. And it's just going to be a portal of just all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm super excited. It's something, you personally know my vision's been for the last 3 years, but now I'm getting closer, and it's tuning in. And some days, it doesn't feel like it's getting anywhere, but I've been working on it. I've just, I've held on to this dream and vision for a long time. And I know you post a lot about the stuff about, and I think I've had something to do with it, maybe not, but I love that I have noticed the transformation you've made from, well, you got to do it and you got to finish it and blah, 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 to knowing that everything you've done is of value. And it's just a matter of when that seed's going to burst out for everybody else to see.
Well, and it's like, as I'm realizing, it's like to create legacy, to create a reservoir of information that people can use. And there's always an opportunity to trim it up. There's always an opportunity to share with something that can help somebody else without no motivation other than, hey, I hope you get something out of this. And I think that's in our society where, everybody feels, or at least I feel sometimes, where you feel like you're always being asked to open up your wallet. And it's like, it's very refreshing where somebody you can speak to their integrity, you can hold them accountable to it, and they deliver upon that.
Yeah.
And that they're not going to ask you to buy anything. They're not going to be like, hey, and don't get me wrong, everybody's mindset, everybody's focus is different, but my focus is friendships, love, value, right? And obviously through that, yeah, we all have bills to pay, and there's all money it takes money to do things in this world, but how do you get it?
Right.
Is it being forceful, or is it being fulfilling? Can you put your head on your pillow late at night and to be like, I did it the right way, whatever that way is.
And that's, we're in our 3rd year, and I mean, our friendship, I mean, I love you dearly. I mean, I support you, and it's, it's the things of, we're not talking monetizing. We're just talking about just being there for each other. True friendships,
Well, and one of the most underestimated skill sets, and I mean, I know that sales expert Jeb Blunt and also sales expert Jeffrey Gittimer, they both wrote books throughout the pandemic about live streaming and all of those types of things. But one of the things I picked up on right away that they did not talk about, because it was all with the intention of selling and being more visible, because you couldn't meet people face to face, so you had to do things virtually, is if you're willing to be vulnerable and if you're willing to be transparent about who you are, what skill sets are you developing for something else that you get to have with you for the rest of your life? That is one piece that everybody's so busy on, like what they need to do with video or the opportunity, right, for sales or,
but look how many haven't even taken the opportunity to really do podcast.
Right.
Or consistently do them like we've been,
Well, analysis paralysis, You know,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and it took me a while to figure this out, but it's like I've been to a lot of intense workshops where storytelling and you're getting up in front of a microphone and doing master of ceremony stuff, right? Where you're on video. There's a small group of people that pay thousands of dollars to be there with you, right? It's an investment in yourself, but also though you leave it all there. You get
Hmm.
emotional. You may tear up. You may cry. You may want to quit, but you keep going. And the difference between and I've heard every excuse in the book, but um, the one comment or the one thing that nobody can ever contend with is if you're unwilling to confront yourself.
Yeah.
Because how they talk about like leave your ego at the door. You can't do that because your ego's with you on your shoulders, right? But the one thing is, are you willing to confront yourself? Because
Yeah.
everything about your ego and accolades and all that, that's all external. That's meant to
Yeah.
puff out your chest. But everything that you're willing to do to confront yourself is where you look inward.
Well, and that's what I love about here. We're just being real and raw. We're not soliciting advice for you to
No.
do whatever. We're just talking, and I love that we can sit here and talk about things that a lot of people don't talk about,
Yep.
and that is just being vulnerable, just
Yep.
showing up
And
and putting out.
it's so interesting to me is that to take the like psychological research about videos that are well produced versus videos that are just very simple, no crazy animations, you do the editing on your phone or whatever, is that you don't need the best microphone, you don't need these things. It's interesting about how the more well polished it is, the less people it's kind of like it's diluting the message.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, it's just that everybody feels that the stage needs to be just so polished in
Right.
order to go.
Right.
But sometimes the best shows are the ones that are not rehearsed.
Correct. Right. Well,
And
and I mean, when you're talking to somebody, are you going to relate best to them if you're just being real in who you
yeah,
are, or if you're trying to be something that you're not? It's kind of
right.
like going to I don't know, a casual wedding and you're wearing, black tie.
It doesn't fit. It's a little
Yeah.
awkward.
But also though, are you being yourself?
Right.
That is something that we can answer. That we only know those answers, but obviously people that are close to us, if we're willing to ask them, hey, am I myself all the time? Am I authentic?
That's only you can answer, but people can see right through. And it's just like,
Yeah.
if you do read some books that are a little outdated on etiquette or not, or fashion or whatever, your fashion or your etiquette just doesn't equate to the crowd. You're gonna have issues anyways.
Right. Yeah. It's but with it I've observed various different things over the years, and obviously when we put together our show and all the work that it takes and then the time commitment, and more so on your end because of the technology and the graphics and whatnot. Um, but what I've realized though is like how easy it is to see what our show is not and who we are not. Like
Yeah.
if we've got to get through 15 topics in an hour, if there's silence, that's bad. If we fumble on words or if we have Lynnisms or whatever, that's a moment to embrace, not a moment to condemn, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that resonates with people. It's like, well, there's somebody that's just like me instead of somebody that's on this pedestal.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, to strive for wherever we want to go is great. But if you have to do it, if you have to sacrifice who you are to be somebody else or try to be somebody else,
Yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah, and that's the thing, I mean, I hear people just sit here just to hear me laugh, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna sit here just to laugh. Brian either makes me blush or he makes me laugh. So it's really it's Brian's. It's
You know,
your job.
and I know that we've had, a couple of viewers who will remain nameless where they're just like based on their past and based on what they did, and they don't understand or they can't relate to just sharing, right? Like
Right, right.
what's the catch? Why are you doing this? It's like, okay, I'm a student just as well as somebody that'll post something,
Yeah.
right? Everything I put out there is stuff I need to work on myself.
Right. It's like and sometimes I've learned that what I've done, Brian, is just put note to self. So if
Right.
somebody reads this and thinks I'm preaching it, well, shit, I ain't doing it yet, but I'm sharing note to self, because one thing Facebook is good for is that a year or 2 years from now, if you have a lot of likes, that shit comes up in your memories
Right.
and you like to see it again.
Well, and as it's been said in history books, and I know that Larry Levine reminds us all, because I'm in his community of groups, is that whatever is old is forever new.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when we look at business books, yeah, business is going to change, but you can read sales books that are 100 years old, and it's going to speak to you more now than it ever did before.
Right. Right.
But
Well,
but this matter up here, it's interesting. We could spend a whole lifetime trying to master this without doing anything else.
Well, and the thing is like, I sent you that little video, which I thought was great.
Yep.
It showed this little video was it's Instagram little thing. She had a glass and it was just clear, and then she goes, sometimes life is like this, and she throws dirt in it.
Yep.
And then she stirs it up. She goes, and life just gets messy. And she takes her teaspoon and she goes, and you could keep digging out the dirt to make it clean. And then she takes a pitcher
Hmm.
and you could just keep pouring, and it just eventually the dirt was coming out and the cup was getting clean.
Hmm.
So think about that for a minute. It's the same thing, that sometimes we can't help what we have inside, but when you see the beauty, when you open your eyes to the beauty of outside and the possibilities and the fact that you can either be a victim or victor.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing is that it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It's what's happening in front of your eyes now to give you the ability to see it in a different form, in a different light. That's why they say when you return to your memories from the past, you can have a different perspective, because that's all that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
The past isn't going to change, but how you see it now, and so, like, for us that have kids, I know you don't have kids yet, but
Right.
it's like you have no understanding how hard it is to be a parent until you're there,
Yeah.
or anything, or it's hard to know how it feels to lose a parent till you're there. It's
Correct.
all these things you don't know till you're there. But don't knock what you don't know there. Just see how other people are and whatever. But because you watch a movie doesn't mean you have to go out and reduplicate a movie that's already been done.
Well, and it's interesting that somebody that's it's kind of like some people are coaches, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, why would they run that play? It's like, do you really think in their mind that a potential Super Bowl is on the line, that they're going to make a dumb play on purpose? And it's
Yeah.
very easy when you're not in the mindset of a head coach, where it's all on the line. Last game of the year, biggest game of your professional career, or maybe of your life. You think that somebody's purposely going to be like, I want my team to get sacked right now.
Yeah. Well, and again,
Ridiculous.
that's the thing. I mean, maybe the first year, we hit the live and we're like, "Oh shit, we're live. What are we gonna do?" Blah blah blah. But then after a while, you're like, you could either be stage fright and let you go, or say,
Yep.
"Hey, it's showtime and you gotta go." And
Right.
it's just the mindset of where you're at. So again, like for me, I've always tested. I get nervous when I'm being timed on a test, and that's not been a good thing for myself. But again, it was like, if I didn't worry about the time and I went to the questions I knew, then seeing it now, I would handle it different. But again, when you sit there with your fears or the concerns, that's what's going to come out. That's
Mhm.
really what's going to show.
Well, and yeah, the more you astray from the challenges of life or whatever, the more that they're going to get you. I mean, I remember something that Speaker Brian Dodge said many years ago. It must have been in the early 2000s, up in Minnesota at a conference. He goes, "You're going to be in it." He goes, "Are you in a crisis?" And everybody's like, "No," and they're just like, "Well, you got one coming."
Yeah.
You're either
It's
in and
just
out of crises every day of every
right.
year of every month of your life.
I was speaking to somebody today, and basically I was saying this morning, I said, we don't you got to understand, and like we've said many times, none of us are going to get out of here alive, but we
No.
also have to understand all the tragedies that happen in the world, they have to happen to somebody. So we're basically in a lottery every
Yep.
day. What's the lottery going to bring to our door today?
Right.
And how are we going to react? And what are we going to do about it?
Hmm.
But we also have to just embrace. That's why when you see somebody misfortunate, you just pray for them and you just whatever. And you realize that you too can go through that
Right.
at any given time. And that's the reality of anything. It's just like when we're on the highway doing 80 miles an hour, which we can do legally out here in Montana. You're bound to realize that you're taking a risk at 80 miles an hour. But we don't think about that. We're all fine. And then all of a sudden you slide on the road and all of a sudden you don't want to drive again.
Mhm.
Well, how's that going to work for you?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a game of life, and I think I being the beginning of the Gen Xers, I think I'm going to work on a book of Gen Xers and the baby boomers and
Well, and
where
it's
we were
like,
in the middle.
well, it's like Scott McKain. I love Scott McKain. I've learned a lot from him. Storytelling guy, his voice, man.
Oh yeah,
And he had
dreamy.
a he had an article. What was that?
I said dreamy, but anyways.
Dreamy. Ooh, I'll make sure I tell him that. Lynn
Oh
Serrano
gosh,
said
you
you're
better not
dreamy.
be clipping no clips like that.
Well, I'll just timestamp this and send it to him. Hey, Scott,
Shut
you were
up.
mentioned.
Shut
You're
up.
dreamy by
Now
my
stop.
co-host. Um,
Anywho,
but anywho,
anywho,
as her face is turning the color of her sweatshirt right there,
I
I
don't
heard
know what
already,
he's talking about.
is exactly as he said in an article, I think it was 2 weeks ago, is what game are you playing? Are you playing your game or are you playing somebody else's game?
Yeah, that's good.
Because and I like the way that you framed it there, the game of life. Well, it
Mhm.
is a game. You aren't getting out alive,
Right,
but the rules are yours.
right.
And if
And
you want to have the rules decided for you by somebody else, well, that's your choice. But then don't get upset when you're not happy with either what happens or what somebody else has in store for you.
well, I scrolled through Facebook like we all do, and I was a Billings classified ad came up about somebody needing $580 for their storage unit, and if they
Uh,
could have money. And she's a female, and she's this whatever, and there was just a lot of rude comments. And I mean, you know, that she didn't need to hear that right then. But the thing is that you give people friendly advice or not or whatever, But hey, she decided to put it out there, so be it. But you got to do more than that. Just begging for somebody for something. You
right.
you got you gotta God helps those who help themselves. And it doesn't mean help yourself at a classified and hope that somebody pays. But
Yeah.
she would have been okay if somebody didn't say, "Look, 6 months ago, I gave you money for your storage. What have you done in the last 6 months?" So
Yeah.
that just messed up her first time run for begging for $600. But
Yeah.
I all I'm saying is like, it may work for some. Your damsel distress may work for some, and it may not work for others.
Right.
But when you do realize that no matter what in life, even if somebody gives you advice, if you don't do shit with it, the advice was shit also,
Yeah.
you know? Because obviously you ask God, the universe, whatever, you ask for wisdom, you ask for help. And help means getting another person and volleying a topic and find a solution that may work and things you can do. And even somebody said in there, well, maybe if you get it in the storage, maybe you could sell this stuff to pay for your stuff in there. She's like, well, they won't let me in there now. Well, maybe 6 months ago you should have thought of that.
Yeah.
But again, and if it's not valuable, then why are you paying that kind of money? But anyhow, I guess what I'm saying is there are so many ways to look at different things. And but she had said that she hadn't worked in 6 months because her car didn't work. Okay. So again, I'm telling you, there's a lot of ways you can look at it being a victim, or a lot of ways you can be, victorious. And
Well,
it just I know I sometimes have to stop myself and say, Lynn, everybody's got to learn their lesson, you
well,
know?
and I don't know how you describe, the kind of world that we live in today, but it's all over the place where it's like, okay, there's people that have never had the internet, never had Google, never had any of these things. They figured stuff out.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, different generations are going to come in at different times. I can't fault them for, not having access to nothing, right? They
Right.
they were raised with this stuff.
Right.
So there are different challenges. But at the same time, it's like, okay, people that didn't have the internet figured it out.
Yeah.
Now you've got at the click of a button, you can find out anything, even
Yeah.
even with all the AI stuff, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, don't even get me started on
But
that. Yeah.
but what I'm saying though is like, okay, if you want everybody else to come up with solutions for your problem, and you're not, a better answer, and I witnessed this in masterminds where it's like somebody's like, hey, I've got this event coming up. Can you help me do this? It's one thing to ask for help, good thing to do, right? You're showing your vulnerability, but it's another thing. What work have you done on this?
Right.
Where are you getting stumped, right? Where are you not correlating how this is going to flow well? So
Right.
at least you put your investment in it instead of, hey, I really want the easy way out and I'll let you figure it out for me and I get to take credit for it. No,
No, don't
that's
work that
not,
way.
no, that's not, no, that's not how it works.
No, but but then again, let's just go back and let's be realistic here too, right? Because everybody's gonna blame Chat GBT for everything. But come
No,
on,
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna pull the rug out underneath that. We've had shit like this all along. They're called ghostwriters. We're
Right.
called people that put their money in there and they get a book made and they didn't do shit either.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just saying. So back in the day, like I said, they figured out how to have their GPT. It wasn't called GPT.
Wow. And another
Or
thing,
or the college kids that paid other people to take their tests. Come
well, and
on
another,
now.
well, and another thing too is but I hear things, I observe things, and then you form your own conclusions. But it's like to have the art of being a good writer,
Right.
that there's no money in the planet that could exchange that, right?
Right. Right.
And it's like, how can you authentically get, how could you be straight with yourself by handing in work that you didn't do?
Right. And that's the thing though, and people don't see that people that use Chat GBT, they could be putting their thoughts, everything they went through, everything, and then have somebody write it. I'm not going to knock somebody like that
Right.
because shit, I want to understand it. So yeah, put in this, and that. Matter of fact, I'm going to play with it and put my PDF of the book I wrote, my book, and say, put this where somebody else can understand it. And I want to read it because
Mhm.
it might do a better job than me. But guess what? It was my life, it was my experience, but I choose to stick it in there to see how they can write it. That's putting some dirt in the game, like
Mhm.
whatever. You took action to turn on YouTube and figure out how to do it yourself or whatever. But what I'm saying is like there's a degree of appreciating that you put sweat and tears into something, and you got to at least do it once.
Right.
Because I know I'm going to write something, and I know whatever I write, I probably put through a GPT and
Well,
say, help me polish it up. But
and and just like anything with technology, life, anything like that, is that the new whatever on the block is going to be there, and then just by the course of time, it'll just kind of go away like the
that's right.
sunset, and then it's the next thing, then the next thing, you
Well,
know.
but it's
But did you do the work on it?
exactly. But that's the thing. Chat GBT ain't going to do no work if you can't even think of your own creativity to
Correct.
give it to it. So
Well,
that's where a lot of people are going to falter. They're going to go, well, shit, I got this amazing thing here. I just don't know how to use it.
and then another thing too is that it's a tool, right?
Yeah. Don't be a fool when you use the tool.
Oh boy. That's a bumper sticker maybe in one of those exotic magazines maybe.
Oh,
Another
I'm gonna make a
another
shirt
piece of
out of it.
this, oh god, that's even worse. We'll wear our shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Is another thing too is that it's interesting about how the new technology or the new thing that everybody's talking about, it's great up until you get called out for something, or until it screws up, and then it's good until it screws up, but you're not taking any accountability that you
Yeah,
might need to
yeah,
proofread what it generates or
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
oh, that thing sucks or whatever. Oh, but you gave it all the credit in the world
yeah,
in the
yeah.
beginning, but not by what it
Yeah.
delivered.
Well, it's funny because I've been using ChatGPT only enough to say, I like what the hell I wrote. Let me see if it can make it any better. And it didn't. I was like, no. So what I'm saying is, but at least thinking of doing that makes me want to put something intelligent in there.
Mhm.
And I realize, shit, I'm intelligent enough. I don't need to use it. But at least I have it there if I need it. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the skills with all of this, it will never be replaced, regardless of how intuitive it is and how smart it is.
right, right. But that's such thing as life. You either get a doctor that paid somebody to take all their tests and they just barely got a 65. You don't know what the grade they got. Actually, a 70 to pass.
All right.
They barely got a 70. But you look at their record history of surgeries, well, whose fault is that? You may want to do your little bit of homework.
Well, and plus, I mean,
You
people
get
will have to contend with their conscience.
Well, that's what I mean. You get sought out anyways, right? Because he's got a degree up on the wall and malpractice is up high and he's no successful surgeries. Somebody gonna find your ass out sometime.
Right.
It ain't gonna take
Well, and
that's what,
plus, I mean, we all know that anybody that can't be self-sufficient, and be open to learning new skills or whatever, is going to have this habitual
Mhm.
nature about themselves where they always need to be bailed out, or they always need assistance instead of figuring it out themselves. Or if they do need help, they do reach out, but it's not until they've come to a crossroads about where to go next,
Right,
because they've been doing all the work up until that point, but there's a blind spot that needs to be addressed that they're not seeing, or to move it in their mind of where to go.
right. Well, this has been a great to be announced
Boom.
conversation, and I love it this way. I think sometimes just we've been doing this for 3 years, and sometimes I think just not having a topic and coming here and talking the way we do is the best way. Just made it to say
Mary
hello,
Kay.
hello, beautiful Mary Kay. We were just stepping
Hello.
out the door, and we're glad we could say hi to you live. And maybe we'll do it this way next week, Brian. And then
Cornucopia of thoughts.
there we go. And I can't wait for the new site to come out because they'll be there doing this live. So you guys have a great day. Love
Thanks for
you.
being here, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Love you, Brian.
Love you too, Lynn.
Bye.
Bye,
Oh, wait,
everyone.
wait. Oh, there's Mary. There we go. There we go.
Early
I
hearts.
love her. See ya.
Bye, everyone.